Hey everybody, welcome back. This is a video I'm excited to do. This one is going to be an update on mostly X series products, some new products, a whole bunch of fun stuff. But first, I've got to talk to you about tweeters. We are finally getting in some tweeters. This has been rough. Here at GR Research, we've been going through some of the same things everybody else is going through. We can't get stuff. We can't get raw materials. We can't get certain things made. Those things don't exist anymore. This happened because of COVID, or that happened, and oh my gosh, it's been a mess. So with our tweeters, the problem was that the dome material used on these things became unobtainium. In other words, it didn't exist anymore. It wasn't going to be made. This was the same dome material Sayaz used in their top tweeters, and Peerless was using it in the T26. And it's a great tweeter, one of the best dome tweeters that we've ever worked with. So they had to find a replacement dome. And they sent me 2 or 3 different samples that I culled. Until finally this one, I said, okay, let's knock some of these things out. As you can tell, it looks a little different than the original version. If you look at them side by side, this is a little clearer, a little bit translucent, where that one is a little darker. Measurements are pretty close to where they were. Since the only thing that really changed is just the dome material. But it's a little different, and it's a different material to work with, and there's a little bit of inconsistencies there as far as the measured response from tweeter to tweeter. And we got in 54 of these last week, and of course we tested and measured every one of them. And the quality was good, and the response was pretty good, but there were a few that were they were outside of, I wouldn't say outside of normal, but not as perfect as we would have liked. So we've gone through and matched them in pairs. Even the ones that maybe were down a little bit in output, we matched those in pairs. And I've been going in and adjusting the networks for every model so that the levels are perfect and are where they're supposed to be. So we've been putting a lot of time and a lot of care into making sure that when the kits go out, when they build it as per the plans with the parts that come in there, we've tested that tweeter with those parts, and we know that it measures perfectly. So that's caused a lot of extra work on our part, but I feel it's important. We're going to do it. We're going to get this stuff held to the highest quality level we can, and that's what we're going to do. So those 54 units went quick. They filled back orders that have been in here since last November. I know you guys have been waiting on this stuff for a while, and we ordered these well over a year ago. And another 54 of them just arrived today. So in other words, they're making these as fast as they can, and as fast as they get them made, they're shipping them to us. And so those 54 that just came in, we're going to measure and test all of those. Hopefully that'll get us through all of last year's orders, get us through December possibly, and we'll start on this year's order. We got another 104 that shipped yesterday, so we've got more coming and more coming. We've got a couple thousand on order, and they come boxed a lot nicer now. We used to get them bulk boxed. Now they're individually boxed, which I like, so that we can ship these in a manner that's a little safer, because they're sitting in their own little box of foam, which looks nice. It's got our logo on it, and it tells what model the tweeter is. So that's going on, and we've mostly been doing Encores, and we're starting on some Bravo orders. We still got to look at some of the ecstatic ones. We found some that measured just almost exactly like the original version, and we're going to use those without any changes because they measured straight on, and we've got some of the older ones we're using as references. So that's getting done. New stuff. The table's full of new stuff. As you know, we had an NQ driver made, which was a very unique design. It's got a push-pull motor, which means there is a neodymium magnet on the top plate and a ceramic magnet on, there's a neodymium magnet on the pull piece and a ceramic magnet on the top plate. So it's got basically a push-pull design. This is the new 8-inch version, so it's the M200 NQ. We've been using those M165 NQs, which is a 6.5 with this motor structure and design and the big voice coil, and they've been the best sounding woofers we've ever worked with. The vocals and stuff in these are beautiful. So we're going to try out an 8-inch version. We've got plans to do a little 8-inch two-way floor stander with the Neo tweeter and a little bit bigger waveguide. We've got that coming. We've got a 16-ohm version we're going to be testing too, so we could do an MTM of this thing and start doing some little bigger models, and that's going to be exciting. This is something that's been in development for well over a year. Once we started the NQs, I had them do an NQ woofer, and since the voice coil was a 44 millimeter voice coil, I said, hey, we should be able to put a tweeter right in the middle of this thing. And we've tried variations. That's basically that same tweeter that we're using, but with a Neo motor. And we've tried it with and without the mesh. We'll still probably pull this mesh off and try it without the mesh. It may not wind up having a mesh on it. We had to try different cone profiles because the profile of the cone, whether it was straight or curved, completely changed the tweeter's response. We had some cancellation at the very top of the tweeter's response. Wanted to get rid of that. Didn't want any throat cancellation. We've played with moving the tweeter forward, moving it back, and a whole bunch of different stuff. So this is the latest sample. It just came in a little bit ago. We're hoping this is it. And if it is, it's going to open things up to some really cool new designs. Obviously, it would be ideal as a center channel, even with a woofer on either side of it, because as a coaxial, of course, you could move left or right in any direction, and it doesn't make any difference. The sound isn't going to change because you're not changing the time alignment of the drivers. Unlike a tweeter with a woofer on each side, as you move left or right, you're changing the time arrival of the two woofers that are covering all the way up to the tweeter. And so one starts to cancel out the other, and that's why you see a lot of little tweeters with a little mid under them and then woofers to alleviate that problem. Well, this will completely alleviate it, and we may do a whole series of products with a coaxial driver. For those guys who love coaxials, they do have some advantages. We could do, like I said, a center channel. We could do one with a woofer underneath, a single woofer underneath it. We could do this just by itself, possibly, and we could do a floor standing version with maybe 4 of the 6.5s underneath it covering bass. So a lot of cool possibilities going on there. These are 2 new samples that just got in. This basically is the same M130 that we've been using and M165s. But we've done away with the dust cap, and they've put a solid aluminum pole piece on the middle of this, or aluminum face plug attached to the pole piece, which has some advantages. And it's a curvilinear shaped cone. We're going to see what these do. They may wind up being really good for mid-range, and it's a lower cost alternative to the NQ series, which the dual magnet, especially the neodymium magnet, that adds a ton of cost to producing this versus this much smaller motor that's needed on the standard woofers. And a reason being is the QTS we were targeting is a higher Q, and versus these were a little bit more of a woofer, so they didn't need as much motor structure on them to hit the targets that we wanted. So new stuff, man. I can't wait to see what these do. We may offer, completely new models with some of these, and I'm kind of thinking they may be really, really good as mid-range drivers, and lower cost. So, and then this little Encore sitting over here, funny story with it. Jay, that has the review channel, you guys know Jay up there in Canada. He's actually getting pretty good with those reviews. He's redone his room. He's added some room treatment. He started reviewing some cables. He noticed quite a bit of difference in cables. And he noticed quite a bit of difference when he used the cable risers, which I thought was really funny. I know a lot of those guys out there are throwing stones at us for using cable risers and stuff like that, calling it snake oil and everything else. But once your system reaches a certain level to where you can really hear differences like that, and you try it and you realize, oh my gosh, that made a difference, you realize what's really going on, and it really can make an improvement. And Jay's noticed that, and I've noticed that he's noticed it. So he's coming along. He may be one of the elite reviewers at some time, and I'm pulling for him. And so he saw an XLS Encore kit that was for sale in the used market. Somebody had ordered it for one reason or another. They never got a chance to build it, and they sold it to Jay. Jay had it sent to Frederick, who's one of our good customers up in the Northeast. Frederick is posted on Audio Circle. He does assembly work for any of our customers who are interested. He does crossover assembly, and he's posted pictures of his assembled crossovers, and they look fantastic. So They sent it to him. Frederick assembled it all. They ordered some cabinets from Peter. This is the Baltic birch cabinets with the 45-degree corners. Really solid boxes. And so they sent the boxes over there. He did the full assembly. He's going to send it up there to those guys for review. Was kind of worried maybe he felt like he should send it to us first and just let us measure and test it and make sure it's correct. And we did. I haven't opened them up or anything to look at what he did, but they measured perfect as far as within normal tolerances. And both the left and right speakers almost looked like a matched pair. They were really close on each other, right? Close enough, I'd say, matched pair. So Frederick did a great job. Any of you guys who are interested and sending stuff over to him for crossover work, I'd highly recommend him. He did a really good job. A couple other things too. I know these guys didn't have cables up there. Jay didn't have cables with tube connectors already on it, which these have, of course, which is the highest quality connection you can put on a speaker right now. And so I had some cables built up, some speaker cables, so he could just plug them in and go. And of course, none of this stuff was burned in. I hate sending stuff out to reviewer and say, oh, by the way, those copper foil caps on these need 400 hours, and the rest of the parts need 200 hours to burn in. And the cables, by the way, need another 200 hours of time on them. So we loaned it to Ron Bernay over at New Record Day, and he played them for a week, and we put some time on them and played them a little bit too. We did some sound clips for them yesterday. Ron came over with his head microphone that he calls Randy, and we recorded 3 songs here in my listening room, so you can hear those songs played back through our system, through the Encores, and get an idea of kind of how they sound. We're going to try to load those up as uncompressed files. They're not going to be on a compressed YouTube. You can maybe link on them below, and they'll be somewhere there on our server or something like that, so you can click on them and play them on your system as an uncompressed file, and you can hear a little bit of what's going on. I know you miss the soundstage and layering and things that we hear while we're really here, but you can get a good idea of the tonality, the clarity, the detail, the vocals. A lot of that stuff you can get a pretty good handle on. So that's going to be there, and I appreciate that Jay let us hang on to these a little bit and put some time on them for him. There's maybe a good solid week of burn-in time. Jay, you're still going to have to put a little time on these, but won't be as bad. And we're going to get these out today on their way up there to Canada and with the cables, and you guys can have a good time with that. And you can review the cables too if you want. I don't care. That's it, I guess, for new stuff for this video. The next video, I'm going to talk about some LGK stuff and new stuff that we've got going on with that product line that I'm really excited about. And that's it, I guess. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.